You're listening to the Pace Radio Network, here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. As you can see, I'm here by myself. My co-host Al is away this week. He had some things to take care of, so took the week off. And that's okay. That's why we have the two of us. So, if one of us can't be there, we both can. Again, most this is not my living room. It's just just a background. I do not live this. This is not my house. Could you imagine? Well, you see my house. This is not my house. But my hubby's home, so and I thought he was going to just, keep on laying behind because he was snoring. But he just got up and left. So, but I was just going to leave him there. But yeah, you know what a shit show my house is. So I hope everybody's having a good week. Actually, this week I have a guest that's going to join me, which is fabulous because a lot of times Al and I do have a guest, and sometimes it's just two of us rambling back and forth at each other. So tonight I have a guest, and she's amazing. Melissa's been fighting with the Cape Breton WCB. She's a frontline worker for many years, and she's also a cannabis patient. There's so much to tell here because this has been an ongoing thing for a few years. So I'm going to let her tell you her story. It's not up to me to tell somebody else's story. So I'm going to bring her in right away, and we're going to start with who she is. So here she is. I'd like to introduce you to Melissa Ellsworth. Hello, my dear. How are you?
Good, girl. How are you?
Oh, doing pretty good. Oh, and there's the dog knocking something else over. Sorry about that, folks. Anyways, so we're going to start with who you are and how you got into cannabis.
My name is Melissa Ellsworth. I am a nurse, and I was a federal corrections officer. In 2006, I had a work injury. I was hit in the head with a chair by a patient when I was working on a psychiatric unit in Halifax. And after that, I was assaulted by an inmate while working at the Nova Institution for Women in Truro. I had some pretty severe injuries, neuropathic injuries. I had concussion. I knew I had a lot more going on, but workers' comp said I had TMJ. And the typical, TMJ diagnosis, standard blanket, easy to treat, go back to work.
Right. Yeah.
So, during that time, I had an ankle injury because I had slipped outside. My foot had gone through the ice. You know how when it snows and then it kind of freezes and then it snows again? It was snow on top, so it looked like kind of like a snowbank that just kind of went up like this. So we were doing rounds. So it was like 4:45 in the morning. We were going to do rounds. I walked out and I thought what I was walking through was a small snowbank, but what I was walking on was this like kind of a sheet of ice that went this way. And then I started to slide, and I realized, like this is not good. So I tried to brace because I had steel toe shank boots, which are pretty stiff. And when I tried to brace myself with put my foot one way, and my foot went through the ice, and my ankle rolled this way.
Oh no.
And then I pulled my ankle up, and then when I did, I kind of started to spin around because I was still going downhill a bit. And I thought, oh my God, what happens if I fall and hit my head? So I had to put my foot back down. And when I did, it went through again, and then it rolled the other way. So I rolled it both. Yeah, it was a mess. Like my foot was an absolute mess. So that was like the end of November or something, and we had a lot of storms that winter, and they were saying it was going to take months to see orthopedics, and I'm like, well, that's not my problem. Like, I can't help that. That's not my fault. And at the end of it, I think in something like March, I agreed to go to New Brunswick to see an orthopedic there just to get an idea what was going on, because I had not seen anyone at this point, and my foot was like a football for, good 2.5 months. So,
even through WCB, there was no doctors to see?
No. They could not get me in to see an orthopedic. No.
That's crazy.
months and months, and they're supposed to be able to expedite things. Like if
Right.
they're supposed to be able to expedite things. So, and keep in mind, after the head injury, I was hobbling around on crutches for like months, which did not help
No.
all of this, right?
No.
So, workers' comp, my employer wasn't impressed. I was still off. They thought I should have been back to work. Workers' comp's whole goal is return to work, right? No
Yeah.
matter what. So, they forced me back to work too early, and I was assaulted by an inmate. I couldn't plant my foot. So she tried to pull me into a bathroom. It was turned into a whole thing. And because of the situation surrounding that incident, my employer was trying to deny that the incident even happened because there's a lot of claim suppression going on and things like that, but it just keeps their numbers lower so that they don't have to pay in as much insurance in, right? So anyway, long story short, I ended going back to work, off work, going back to work. I tried, man, like I really did. And they had me on every medication under the sun. Like I was on, oh shit. If there was a pill, I was on it. Like I am not kidding. And um, right away they started like kind of with injections and stuff. And I was on gabapentin, and then they had me on, I think they tried me on tramadol. That was really bad. I got really sick on that. I couldn't tolerate a lot of the side effects. And then they put me on stuff like, then we started on the gabapentins and the Lyricas, and that's when I was like, hold on, hold up. Like, no. So I knew someone who smoked it for migraines. And in the job I was doing, like I didn't know anybody. Like I didn't know
Well,
anybody.
my brother's a law enforcement officer still. He's been a law enforcement, like, well, not law enforcement, but a jail guard,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. You
Officer.
can't trust nobody.
30 years. No, 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 no. He handles the contraband dog. Like he can't even bring the dog to my mother's house.
Yeah.
So I totally understand it. So again, no, but you're then working for the provincial government. You are literally a provincial government employee. Never mind dealing with WCB. You're also a provincial public servant,
Yeah.
right?
I was a
So,
federal public servant at this point.
right. So because you're working in the federal penitentiary, right? Oh,
Yeah.
so I wasn't sure whether you were working province or federal. So you were a federal. Okay, so a
Yeah.
federal public servant.
I
Okay.
was a provincial public servant as a nurse, and then I was a federal public servant
So
as
you've been basically a public servant your
yeah,
whole life.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you found somebody that smoked it for the migraines.
Yes, and she gave me a couple of joints of what she had, and I didn't like it. I my I just it was a very strong sativa. I have come to find out over time, and they don't agree with me.
Me either. Well, sativa.
So
See, the sativa's not for so much for pain. Sativa's more of an energy. It's more of a get up and go. It's more of a if you're depressed kind of thing. You need
you're
sativa.
feeling
You're
low, you need
yeah,
it right under your butt. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
lethargic, right?
right
Like
under
no
your butt.
energy, right? Yeah, creativity. It's all kind of that. That's what you're looking for sativa.
Yeah,
When you're
I needed a bucket of cold water.
you need couch lock.
Yeah,
This is a really nice couch. I don't know whose house this is, but it's pretty nice.
no, yeah, the couch does look pretty comfy.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. So you were
Yeah,
dealing with
I kind of experimented, and then I think another time she gave me stuff she had, and I found it actually helped. Like it helped with some of my jaw pain, and it helped with my appetite and stuff. So when I had a headache, I would smoke it, and I found it would make my kind of headache a little less. It would make it more tolerable, I guess, because I have trigeminal and occipital neuralgia, and I had a concussion, and like the headaches I get, I call them head crushing because it feels like my head's going to explode. And through an MRI, I have this vestibular loop that when it gets inflamed, presses right against my medulla. So I mean, my only option is brain surgery, and no, thank you. So I found it helped with my pain. So my pain doctor mentioned it first, and I said no. I said because if work finds out, I'll be fired. And he was like, yeah, he understood. So we tried the Marinol, and I found the Marinol kind of bothered my anxiety because it's synthetic. And then we tried the Sesamet, which was the other one, and I was up to 6 milligrams a day, and I found it helped with some of my pain, but not all my pain, and I was starting to get not good side effects from that high of a dose. So he said, okay, how about we just switch it to the plants? And that was my pain doctor, and I finally caved. I said, okay. And that's what we did, and that was in 2014, and we started at 3 grams because he said, you're going to ingest it, right? And I said, yeah, because he didn't want me to smoke it. He said, you're going to ingest it? I said, yep. So, and that's what we went with. And then I informed workers' compensation that this is what the game plan is from here, because I've always been, there's one thing about me with them, as bad of a relationship as we have, I've always been 100% upfront, honest, and open with them.
Yeah.
So right from the get-go, I told them, this is my medication. It works. I don't know why it works. And from there on in, I just, if it worked and nothing else did, as a nurse, I wanted to know why. So that's when I started like studying it and researching it and taking courses, and like I kept a journal of what worked, what didn't work, why it didn't work, and kind of figured out, okay, sour diesel is the strain that prevents my crushing headaches and will treat them when I get them. So I kind of just went from there, and then I figured, geez, if I can do this, I can teach other people this too. Like, why aren't other, like, if I'm not in pain, this much pain now, and I kind of have my life back. And with cannabis, you kind of, especially where I started, I had to do everything on my own because I had to learn how to make everything. I had to learn to start from scratch with a magic butter machine. I didn't even know what a magic butter machine was. I mean, I had to learn everything on my own, and I did. And I thought, once I got everything kind of figured out to an extent, and I kind of got my life back, and it's empowering when you're making your own meds and stuff. And I thought, shit, I wanted to teach other people how to do this, because there's no need for people to be in pain. You don't have to be in pain.
No, it doesn't always. I think that's the thing. A lot of people are scared. They're scared it's going to be too strong, and then when they realize and they're smoking it, it's not masking the pain like they expect it to. And not, the walls aren't, moving and shaking, and so then they think they're not getting anything out of it at all.
Yeah.
And then they give up. And it's not that. It's a matter of finding the right thing, and it doesn't mask your pain. Like it doesn't. It doesn't take everything away. It kind of diverts your attention so that you're thinking of something else. But the things that go along with it, right? Like it is a muscle relaxer. Like, I mean, I will notice it, little notice stiff, but the stiffness is still there. Like, don't get me wrong, right? But again, it's more of a diverter. But it's also the side effects are less than hydromorphine or gabapentin or any of these things that would mask. But then again, then you're pushing your body to do things that it probably shouldn't be doing because you can't feel the pain.
Yeah. Like I'm all about everything in moderation, right?
Right.
Everything, start low, go slow. Like I'd never tell, like someone came to me, I'd never tell someone to start with RSO or FICO or anything like that, because I don't want to get the phone call 2 o'clock in the morning saying I can't get my head out of the toilet. You know what I mean? And I'm like, damn, because it scares them off, and they don't want to try it again.
That's right. Excuse me. Exactly. Excuse me. Sorry. But again, yeah, because what works for everybody doesn't, like, for one doesn't work for everybody either.
All different.
Right? And I'm sure your experience with working with patients and then working with trying to find what's working best for you was also like, it's kind of a experiment, and we are the experiments for ourselves, because every individual, like what works for me, good grief, excuse me, might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for me. Right?
Well, we all have a different endocannabinoid system. We all have a different body chemistry. Like, I wish they taught that in pharmacology, but they never did.
I know. They don't teach any of the cannabinoid systems.
I was pissed off. I was really pissed off when I learned about the endocannabinoid system, and I'm thinking, like, I was a nurse. Why didn't they, like, this thing is like, whoa, why didn't we learn about this?
Well, it should. I've always said it should be a first line of defense instead of a last line of defense.
Mm-hmm. It's the
safest too, right? And it is. The side effects are like none. Like you might you eat too much and toss the fridge and go to sleep. Some people get fairly paranoid on it though. Like I will say, I have seen like even the Prince of Pot green himself out and eat too much and smoke too much and have to go hide in a hotel room. because there's a point where there is too much, right? So, you have to be in moderation, like you said, like low and slow, and don't, go and green yourself out. But that can happen. And we don't say that, but I've never heard of anybody dying from
No,
cannabis.
no, not unless it's blood of a plane hitting you in the head, like a big bale of it or something.
Right? Run it on your head. A kilo. Yeah. I'm gonna have to be more than a kilo too.
Oh, that have to be.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it's
you told WCB, and then they weren't too happy with the cannabis treatment, were they?
oh no, oh no. I actually had one of the case managers call my doctor's office and yelled at the secretary saying, "We've never paid for cannabis. We'll never pay for. We've we never have paid for cannabis. We're not paying for cannabis, and we'll never pay for cannabis." And hung up on her. And she said, "The only reason I knew it was about you because he was screaming at me about cannabis."
Right?
And that was back in like 2000, I don't know, 15 or 16 or something. But I stuck to my guns. I kept my appeals going and kept everything going. And then I think by the time I finally got to tribunal in 2018 or 2008, yeah, I think it was 2018, I won. I won coverage for 4 grand because they didn't have a policy at that time, right? So I won coverage for 4 grams a day. And there was no THC limit on it at that time.
And they changed it again.
Oh, they dropped. Yeah, they took. Yeah, as of last year, I was imposed. My script is 8 grams a day at this point because I've been on it since 2014,
Right.
and I'm supposed to be ingesting it. So if I go from I started at 3 grams in 2014, the fact that I'm at 8 grams a day, that's not a huge jump.
No, it definitely isn't. It hasn't gone to like 20 grams or 30.
And considering the fact that my doctors are trying to keep me like 1 gram ahead of the game because it takes me 2 years to get to a tribunal,
Right.
because it takes 2 years to get to a tribunal, I'm always behind, right? Like I'm always under medicated. So they were trying to keep me ahead of the game, and they
What
said
did
no.
you have to go through this last time? You had to go and speak in front of the tribunal again, right? Like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I had the tribunal. This tribunal was for I had a tribunal for more than 4 grams a day, and I lost it. And I could not understand. None of it made any sense. Then this last tribunal I had a couple of weeks ago was for over the 9% THC cap because they just imposed that on us last year.
They put a what THC cap on?
9%. They won't cover anything more than 9% THC. And I'm like, hang on a second. Like, it's not just about THC. 9% is nothing.
Where do they get the 9%? Where
They
they
said
come
they
up with
got
that number?
They said they're getting it from Health Canada guidelines. So I said, okay, if that's the case, then how come Health Canada gave me a license to grow for the full 8 grams with no restrictions for the same medical conditions? But
Right?
nobody can answer that question. I think it's a valid question.
It is a valid question.
And that's
And I
not
don't understand where this 9%, like who smokes 9%? That's not even like, that's nothing better than grass clippings.
my prescription is 8 grams a day with no restrictions.
There should be no restrictions. Like
And
that's just ridiculous.
so they're changing doctors' prescriptions too and everything.
Well, they can't do that.
No.
They're not doctors.
No. And it's not access, is it?
No. No, it absolutely isn't. And WCB is, they're not physicians, they're an insurance company. And not a government one either, a private one.
No.
They're a private insurance company.
They're a cash cow for the government is what they are.
Well, the government doesn't get shit out of them. They're private. They're private because I fought with them in Alberta too. And each province has different WCB and different WCB standards because they're a private insurance company, and everybody's under the facade they're a government entity, and they're not. And try and find a lawyer to fight the fuckers. That's a good one.
Never.
Because nobody wants to fight that insurance company because they got billions of dollars.
That's all they got to do all day.
And every employer in the province has to pay them, right? So the employers don't like WCB much either because they're a private insurance money, just hand and fist and workers, like just totally fisting them, like giving them a quarter.
We have the highest premiums in the country, and the employers aren't happy.
Well, the employers have to pay these huge premiums, and when it comes time for any of your employees to actually cash a check or have to get a check, they don't even get a full percentage of what they make.
No, and we have the lowest of that too.
Right?
Yeah.
So it seems like WCB, never mind cannabis. Like, I mean, cannabis is a huge thing because you want to have that as part of your medical regime, and it shouldn't be a question. It shouldn't be up to anybody to decide what your doctor and you have discussed.
No.
Especially if your pain doctor is the one that actually recommended it to you.
Yep.
Because I'm sure that, if you think about it, WCB is going to think, she was a corrections officer. I highly doubt she was a pothead before her. And all of a sudden she's like, asking us to pay for her cannabis. So what, we got a pot smoking corrections officer here? Like, I doubt that. So it's not like you were like, some pothead all of a sudden, I'm going to get the government or get, WCB to pay for my weed. You know what I mean? Like,
kind of how they're treating it. That's exactly how they're treating it. Like, I'm just sitting home stoned out of my mind all day, and yeah, and they probably think I sell the extra that we don't. Like it's insane. It's like trying to pull blood from a rock.
if you were a corrections officer, straight laced nurse corrections officer, and all of a sudden you turn into a gangster because you smoke cannabis. What the fuck are they on? Like, holy shit, that's ridiculous.
Get this. When they put the 4-gram restriction and the 9%, I lost control of my pain. Like, it went.
Well, of
I
course.
went from volunteering in the community and doing all kinds of stuff to like almost bedridden.
Oh, of course it was.
Oh yeah, it was bad. So I ended up on narcotics, and
Yep.
they had no problem covering those whatsoever.
Oh no,
They trust those.
Yeah. But they've restricted those pretty badly too. Like, I mean, even if you depending on what your restrictions are, right?
Never had an issue getting narcotics from them.
Oh, I have. But not from my doctor, from my pharmacist.
Like, I avoided it until the 9% cap and stuff like that, because I had to do something. I had to.
Yeah, 9%. Can you even buy 9% cannabis?
No, I don't think so. I think the limit here is even 10.
Well, I mean, even the stuff I think that we just bought the other day was like 37%, I think it was. 37.9% THC. I've never seen anything that high in my life. But it was one of those infused joints, right, that you can buy from, like, we have government stores everywhere.
Okay.
Blocks. I don't have any access to any black market anything. I'm using the legal market, and I'm not complaining because, like I said, 37.9% for a joint. And you're getting what you need. Like, you're getting it.
Like they said, one of the reasons why they put one of the caps on me is because I was ordering stuff that was 35%. And I said, yeah, that was bubble hash. I said, because it was WAPA, and WAPA helps me sleep. I said, so if I take a gram of WAPA and drop it in my magic butter machine with 16 ounces of coconut oil, that's going to be pretty diluted. That'd be like taking a shot of vodka and putting it in a 2-liter bottle of pop.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, like, and I use that analogy. I said, like, that's what I did with it, because that's because it wasn't about the THC amount. It's the strain WAPA helps me sleep, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not THC. It's strain specific.
Right. Right. And how high THC is that one?
Well, I was ordering the flour, and I think the flour was like 16% or something, but they didn't have any WAPA flour at that time, but they did have WAPA bubble hash. So I ordered the WAPA bubble hash.
So higher percentage of THC because it's condensed concentrate, right?
And just made oil in the butter. And
9%, though, that just makes no sense.
I did the same thing with it as I would have done with the flour.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right?
Like, they literally don't know the difference between THC and THCA.
They don't know anything.
No.
Especially WCB, some, worker behind a phone that doesn't know anything about what she's talking about. All she's worried about is how much money she's got to pay, and they act like it's coming out of their own pockets.
I know.
It's like, you're the worker. Like, this isn't coming out of your paycheck or your pocket, bitch. Like, just pay me.
Yeah. She says, I'll approve a food processor. I'm like, you'll approve process. Like,
Right?
for this?
But
Oh
yeah,
yeah. And don't get me wrong, like in the beginning I tried. Like I did. Like I tried. Like I tried to be decent and I tried to be fair, but after a while when you're diagnosed with PTSD in 2009 and they're saying no, you don't have it, and you're bullied and get, like, my psychiatrist said it's the worst case of bullying and gaslighting from workers' comp he's ever seen.
that's
And
what I don't understand. It's where they get off judging what the doctors.
yeah,
You know, doctors in cahoots with you. Like, what do they think?
they have medical advisors that are general practitioners that are just paid to skim over whatever cherry picked information they're given.
Right.
Like I'm not picking up for them, but like in their defense, they can only make decisions on information they're given, and if
Yeah.
they're only given 2 pieces of the pie to look at, then
Right. But it surely should be up to the worker like yourself to take them back to tribunal every 2 years. Like
I've won
just
12.
what's that?
I've won 11 out of 12. Actually, 11 out of 13. No, 12 out of 13 at this point.
Just to keep appealing to get things to be the way they are. Now, have they got you on permanent? Like, are you permanently disabled? Have they got that? Have they given you that status?
Oh
WC?
yeah. It was like I went from being there's nothing wrong with me, I should be able to go back to work, to yeah, you're pensioned off and that's it, and that's all. Like I haven't even had a PMI update since 2014 or through 2015.
Right. And the union didn't do anything to help you either.
Absolutely. Actually, it was funny because when I got hurt at the institution, I was asking for help and stuff, and nobody really kind of wanted to deal with it. And I had talked to human rights about it because, like, I know I'm not. I know I have a strong moral compass, I guess, maybe too strong for my own good sometimes, but I knew like this is wrong. Like what they're doing is wrong, because the federal government wouldn't pay me full wages if I was off on an injury for nothing.
Right.
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 So we know there's more going on there. So I just kind of contacted the union. He didn't want to discuss anything. But then all of a sudden something came up in the union where the union needed me to testify at, because my sheer existence proved the employer to be a liar. So then I was subpoenaed to testify. My medical information ended up getting drug into it because my employer then turned around and said that I wasn't fit to testify, and they said, "Oh yeah, she's fine to testify." And then they turned around and said that if I testified, they would turn my workers' comp claim into a witch hunt. And I testified anyway.
We have to do what's right, right?
Yep.
And like, how dare they threaten you?
Yep.
To do like not to do that, right?
Then I was terminated. Like
Jesus.
literally terminated. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It can just get away with all kinds of stuff. But I mean, you know, like I said, you kept fighting them. You didn't let them get away with that, right? And that's why you're sitting here where you are now, right? With the wins that you've gotten. And we'll talk a little bit more about those after we take a quick break and thank our sponsors, because somebody's got to pay the bills because we're all broke. We'll be right back after a quick break from our sponsors.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partners 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Let's share Pace everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal.
I think that was like wrapping around twice or something was going on with that. It was like doing that. Yeah, that was weird. Anyways, we're back because that was, going to play the same dang part over again. So we were talking a little bit about what you were going through and stuff with WCB and, the whole 9, but again, the capping of the 9%. So where are you at now? Like you just had to do it. They're still capping it at
9%? As a rate, like the tribunal I just had, it was 19 pages. I'm literally still trying to decipher through what it means. He recommended relaxing of the 9% to possibly 13 or 14 when needed. So I don't.
So who do you go in front of the tribunal? Is that a doctor or is it a judge or
who's?
It's a lawyer.
Yeah, it's a commissioner who's a lawyer
with no medical training about cannabis either, though.
No, but he seemed to have some knowledge. Like he seemed to be aware. Like when I was explaining, like the difference between. Like when I said about like when CBN helps me sleep, I said like CBN's a totally different thing. Like I went through like CBD. I went like, oh yeah, I gave him a lesson. And he gets it, but they're so stuck on their policies, right? And I think Dr. Gillis called them archaic at one point because they're based on like if they knew anything about medicine, the first thing they know is that we're all different. Everybody's different, so everybody's going to respond different. Everybody's going to be different strains, different. There's not even it's the bottom line is they don't want to pay for it, and they don't want to know anything about it. They don't want to be educated on it. They don't even want to hear about it.
That's right, and that's it. Bottom line, don't hear about it. It's almost like too complicated, to deal with right now for them. Like they don't want to deal with it. I guess it's kind of like with pharmaceuticals. Like they don't want to know what you're taking, why you're taking it, or as long as it's okay and recommended by a doctor. That's why I don't understand what the difference is between that and cannabis and why they make cannabis such a big, oh my God, but not morphine.
Because it's pot. Oh my God. It's candy.
If they were giving you clinical cocaine, that would be okay. Because they can. Your doctor could prescribe you clinical cocaine. And that would be okay would WCB okay with that?
No. Like I don't understand it. I really, really don't. Like, and they act like I'm trying to get them to do the first man to Mars. And I'm like, no, dude, you're the last man to the moon every single time. And in the meantime, there's like people like me because in my case, like when I started on cannabis, I went from like 18 pills a day to 2 capsules. I did.
Right.
Now I'm on Percocet, I'm on benzos, I'm on Seroquel, like you name it, I'm on it because I can't access and because I can't afford it. But Health Canada will give me a grow license to grow for my full script, no issues, no questions asked. But
Right.
the people that my insurance company that's supposed to pay for it that has already established the need. See, this is what bugs me. The need has already been established. Leave the dosages to the doctors in the community. Because
Right.
we have some good doctors in Nova Scotia. We just came through a pandemic. I mean, we have some, I've worked with some great doctors in this province, and we have some good doctors in this province. Why all of a sudden does a medical advisor or an insurance company think that these fine doctors of this province don't know what they're talking about?
Right. And they do. Like,
Oh, they've said it in writing. And I've asked those, and that's why I've become the squeaky wheel. Because then I end up getting the Minister of Labor involved, and then safety person from the Department of Labor gets involved, and then oh yeah, I start. It's because I've got questions and I want them answers.
right. And there shouldn't be a bunch of backlash about it. But you know, to be fair, the government did the same thing with the soldiers too, right?
Mm,
They rolled them back to 3 grams. Now they have 3 to 5, and I think now they'll pay up to 8 too, is what I was hearing. But I mean, up to 8 still.
authorization, yeah, and
Yeah.
I can get it, but they're still sticking to their policy. So at this point, it's like a love-hate relationship. It's like because even in my tribunal decision, like they admitted I'm the one of the most difficult cases they've ever had. And I'm like, dude, I'm not difficult. You're making it difficult.
Yeah, what's so difficult about me just on my guns? And like 8 grams a day, like even at $10, it's $80 a day. Like to be fair, like my vibe ounce is $200, every 30 days, and whatever. Like so, there's pharmaceuticals that are just as expensive that they're covering.
Hmm. Well,
If,
That's only 28.
yeah,
That's what they're fine. They're fine with that.
yeah,
Never needed a tribunal for any of those increases.
no,
I'm just like, and as a nurse, and we're in the middle of an opioid crisis, and like it really makes me scratch my head. So then I call Blue Cross, right? So I call Blue Cross, and I'm down Blue Cross. So I asked Blue Cross, I'm like, well, okay, well, can I talk to someone in special authorization who can explain to me why workers' compensation is replacing cannabis with opioids?
right.
And then I get a message from my case manager the next day saying, don't contact Blue Cross again.
Why? Well, you're not allowed to contact Blue Cross.
I guess not about that. And then anytime I tried to call after that to discuss it, I just got blown off. Because
So,
that treated my entire body from my head to toe, outside, inside, helped me sleep, gave me an appetite. I was a functioning member. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And now I'm looking at May. So because I can't keep living like this. Like open, yeah, but I got osteoporosis. I got the bones of an 84-year-old woman.
right.
So when you're genetically 84, you don't got a lot of years after that. So I lost like 30 years of my life because I'm only 54 because of neglect.
Yep, we're the same age. I'll be 54.
You know,
So I feel you. Like,
they just admitted that the osteoporosis was due to my injury. So, but you can't put calcium back on my bones. You can't fix that. You can't give me that in my life. Nor will you trust me with cannabis over 9% THC. I mean,
yeah, here's a whole bottle of pills.
mm,
How about her?
yeah, it makes no sense.
So 19 pages, you just got it. So you're still not sure where you're at with that. I haven't had time to look at it either.
I think like November, the month of November for me was like a year because we had the tribunal and then I had workers' compensation had these roundtable meetings around the province, and my tribunal was on the 8th, and I think it was like the 13th or 14th or something that they had these roundtable meetings. So we signed up for them, and I was kind of shocked that they even let me in because I figured, no, I'll be barred from that. But I did get in, and then I got a friend told me that you can sign up for sessions earlier in the day because they said there was going to be no one there to discuss individual issues in the group because of confidentiality issues and their typical way to cover everything, right? So I said, good, I'll sign up for the minutes. I said, and I'm thinking in the back of my no way they're going to give me 10 minutes. It's not going to happen. Bingo, 240 to 250. And I was like, you're joking. So we got together. I had I had a good 10-minute spiel, and it started with I had this big because it was cold that day, and like I'm 96 pounds and I'm 5'8", I think. So like I'm cold all the time. Like and because of the head injury and stuff, I have trigeminal neuralgia. People have issues with regulating body heat. Like it's just a whole autonomic mess, and which cannabis helped too. But believe it or not, like I didn't realize what a mess I was until cannabis was taken out of the picture. So, where was I going with that?
It was cold. You were talking about your 10 minutes that you
Oh,
had to. Yeah.
yeah. I had a winter jacket on. I looked like a big Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, a big hood and everything on it. And I went in, we sat there, and there was a girl with me. She had her 10 minutes. She had her say, and she went after them about accountability. Like there's no accountability in the system because she's a nurse herself, and she knows, like if there was licenses involved, then people would be held accountable. There's no accountability and all this other stuff. So then it came my turn. So I just stood up and I unzipped my jacket and I stripped right down to like my tank top and like almost my leggings. And I just stood there and I said, there was a panel of them. And I said, I said, I'm pretty sure I don't have to introduce myself. I said, I think I all know who I am. I didn't say cocky and I wasn't being an asshole about it. Like I knew I only had 10 minutes and I was trying to get some pertinent stuff out of the way and didn't want to waste time. So I said, I'm pretty sure everyone here knows who I am, and they all nod their heads. And I said, so we're all professionals here. And they nodded. And I said, so we're all aware of what the definition of criminal negligence is. And they nodded their heads. And I said, so we all know what the definition of medical negligence is. And they nodded their head. And I said, well, you're looking at the definition of both. And I did kind of like a little twirl. And I held up the rewards and recognition program in my hand that they say doesn't exist and they don't get bonuses and they don't get that, and said I was almost killed over a $10 Nova Scotia Liquor Commission gift card because I was sent back to work too early on a busted up ankle. And that's why we're all here now. So, and I let them have it. I let them have it about negligence, about not the doctors in the community, their general practitioner, medical advisors, over neurologists. Like, oh yeah, I let them have it. So good.
Do you think it actually sunk?
By the looks on their faces, yeah. And there was one lady there who looked pretty excited, but she couldn't say much because I think they all kind of had to remain pretty neutral. But there was one lady asked me, she's, what was your, because my one doctor said because it involved my jaw and everything, because that's my pie hole. That's the only way I can get nutrition into me, right?
Right.
So if there's damage and swallowing issues, I mean, we're going to run into trouble. So he recommended my PMI be 50% because it involved that part. And one woman asked, she said, so what did that doctor recommend? I said he recommended 50%. And she's, what did they actually give you? I said 12.5.
Hey, really?
Yeah, and she was, everybody's just kind of like, yeah, you could hear a pin drop in there.
My bad. Hang on.
Yep.
Sorry. A dog trying to chew my bed.
Puppies.
Put it, Bubba. Yeah, and the thing is, and they're like that everywhere. They they owe people money. Like Alan's disability, 92%. He's seen no cash, nothing.
And the crazy thing is, like, back in 2010, my doctor said she needs this treatment. It's going to be this many injections. It's going to cost $5,000. They said, no, it's too much money. We're not paying for it. If they had paid for that, I would have went back to work.
Right?
I wouldn't cost them $3.2 million. So I live until I'm 65.
Right.
So if that was my business, I'd want to know what happened. How did that $5,000 turn into $3.2 million?
Somebody dropped the ball. Big time. Oh, we were a little plant. And they would just pay for that too. Like,
yep.
And quit questioning the THC level.
Like, I've had people say, Melissa, we've got people there fearing for their jobs, and I'm like, good. Because I lost two. I was a nurse and I was a corrections officer, and I lost both careers because of incompetence.
Right? That should never happen to a person.
No, the empathy train for them left long ago.
I found that with most.
Too fucking true.
Well, you know what? Why is it that they seem to be so callous?
What's that again?
Do they get a special training to be that callous? To have like no emotion? Like, is there special training for that? Like,
I really don't know. I really don't. They have no medical experience. And one of the things during the roundtable discussions was, like, they took ideas from every table, and the top thing from each table was that there's like zero empathy. There's a lack of empathy there, and that medical or case managers should have a medical background. Like, your case manager should be able to read a medical report, like not like a radiology report or nothing, but if a doctor sends in something, they should understand what they're reading.
well, yeah, they should. Medical transcripting, something.
Mm-hmm. Something. Because, I mean, 30% of the nursing force in Nova Scotia is off on comp. Like, at one point, I probably would have went and worked for them. I know a lot of others that would have too. But I even said in my tribunal, I said if they were smart, they'd hire me now. I said if there's a cannabis expert in this province, I said, dude, you're looking at her.
Right.
And I never took my own horn, and I just told them flat out, no, they have no idea what they're talking about.
No, and they really need, like, all provinces, even the federal government, even when they wrote the cannabis regulations, they had us all at the round tables. They had all the experts there. We were all there.
Yep.
Did they listen to anything we had to say?
Right. And now, like, we have the ACMPR, we have the right to like access to medical, we have all this stuff. It's a right. I even talked about it. I was representing myself. I didn't have a workers' advisor lawyer, and by the time it came down to the final stretch, because I was going to file a charter challenge too, but by the end of it, I just ran out of steam. I just didn't have it. But I did discuss Chapter 7 a lot, and the ACMPR and the access and everything.
Right.
Let them know, like, I know. So I don't understand why you're still doing this.
Because Health Canada doesn't recognize cannabis as marijuana as medicine.
How many Health Canadas do we have? Because my case manager, I said to my case manager, I said, well, because I sent in a receipt from the NSLC, because that's where we get it here in Nova Scotia, right? Which makes absolutely no sense. And she said, no, we don't cover that anyway because it's not Health Canada approved. And I said, what's not Health Canada approved? And she said, anything from the NSLC. And I said, it all has to be Health Canada approved.
It is. For recreational use, not medical, because they do not recognize cannabis as medical.
It's the same. I was like,
right?
Mm.
It's a conundrum, but that's the biggest thing I've been saying since the very beginning. Until
I gotta let the dog.
Canada recognizes cannabis as medicine, we're fucked. We're just going to sit here looking.
It's preventive. And if they realize, one second, I gotta let the dog in. If they realized how preventive it was, they'd be all over.
They do. But preventative means it's going to help cure people. We all know there's no money in cures, right?
Yeah, true enough. You don't make any money.
Right. And they make more money recreationally selling it with the taxation than they do with medicinal. So once you recognize it as medicinal, then medicinal shops and stuff could then legally start opening and selling. And that would then take away from the recreational market that they're making money. They will never, ever. Yeah. And it's the bureaucrats. It doesn't matter who's in government, who's in power. It's bureaucrats. And it's all got to do with the bottom line of cash and tax flow. And how the tax flow works.
Girl, and it makes about as much sense as fighting over TJ and a Wrangler. It does, like that. That's how I just legally.
There's no recreational now for everybody. There's access for everybody. If they change the dosing and maybe the plant limits, that might appease patients because they're actually looking at phasing out the medical marijuana program and have been since the beginning of the Cannabis Act. So, that being said, we don't know where they're at with that either because we haven't heard much back. There's been a few charter challenges that patients have won though. So, they have to, because we all know that anything we've ever gotten came out of a courtroom and never came out of the government. So, I haven't heard much about what Pat's case is doing, but they're all in Saskatchewan and a lot of them. There's another case, I think, pending in Alberta. But again, they're, unless there's pending charter challenges that are going all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada and Ottawa, that only affects certain, aspects of where they're at.
I think Chris went here yesterday, the day before. Chris Enns, I think he went yesterday, the day before.
But he's still fighting it in a court in Nova Scotia, but not.
Yeah. No.
I thought they dropped all his charges.
Just recently? Just the last couple of days? I just I knew he was. No, he was going back to court yesterday, the day before.
Oh, for what?
I can't remember. And I feel like I know this, but because he had a couple of things going on, I think.
It must be new. Last I heard, everything had gotten dropped.
It sounds Paige.
Him and I don't like each other much. It's more of that, During COVID, people went crazy, right?
Yeah, same train.
So I just kind of went back away from that.
Yeah.
Rather than just, I'll just stay away. So I just was. That way it just doesn't cause conflict. I don't have to see it, so it doesn't cause me any grief.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I just did my own thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll take care of myself. I've got an immune deficient. I've got, health issues. And what I chose to do is for me. You choose to do you. That's fine.
Same.
Right? Yeah. But that's the way it kind of flows for a lot of people. And that's okay. And I think now that it's not such a big thing, people can relax back and don't really care. But I know I have. Like, I've kind of relaxed about it. It's like, whatever, man, I don't care. I don't hear about it anymore. Like, I've got, I've had my jobs. I'm good. You stay, in your lane, and I'll stay in mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much that they keep trying to throw at us patients, right? And make it so that it's difficult for us to maintain the health that we're used to maintaining because we've had the ability to do a marijuana program. No matter what. But by fuck, I've ever heard anybody being tapped and capped at 9% THC. Like, I've never. And that's like the WCB in Nova Scotia, right? What if you were in Cape Breton?
Yeah, I'm in Cape Breton.
Yeah, you are, right? Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
When I had to move back. I was living up on the mainland, but once they put the 9% THC cap on me, like I tried to maintain it but it was too much money. I had to file for bankruptcy, sell my house, move back here. Yeah, it was just, I just couldn't do it.
Wow.
While I'm telling them, like, hey, I need this. Everything from my cannabis to my meal replacements. And meanwhile, I'm getting like smaller and smaller. And the doctors are writing letters and they're just not listening.
And all to WCB.
What's that?
All WCB. All WCB. They paying the bills and trying to maintain. You couldn't even maintain it. You're not the first person I've heard that they didn't pay the workers or the workers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, my LP, they didn't pay my LP from April till November. Like, luckily, my LP just kept, like, let me order, but they literally did not pay my LP from April till November.
Why? What was their excuse?
None. None that I got. None that I knew of.
Huh? That just flabbergasted me.
And then
Flabbergasted me.
when I first got the coverage, when I get because we had to get the renewals done every year, I would have to wait sometimes 2 or 3 months for the renewal to go through, and it's a literal facts, right? I would have to wait 2 or 3 months for my case manager to do that. Like, it's just one big pissing contest.
Well, it's just like it sounds like complete incompetence.
It is. Yeah. Negligence, incompetence, corruption. It's all in there.
Wow.
All in there.
I know they should be like, I don't know. Hopefully they're going to have to pay some compensation back at some point.
Well, they've approved after a neurologist had some concerns, and the medical advisor ignored it. And I brought it to a doctor who said, well, now that you brought this to my attention, because as a nurse, like, I'm not stupid either.
Right.
So I brought it to another doctor who said, well, now that you brought this to my attention, I have to look into this. And I knew he did. So, because if you don't, that's incompetence. And they did, and that's when they found out, yes, I do have trigeminal neuralgia and occipital neuralgia. I mean, trigeminal on its own is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been telling them that I've been, and my doctors have been telling them I've had this since 2013. That's 10 years.
Right. And they just, yeah. Again, not medical workers, right?
No.
They're just some monkey on the other end of the phone, fucking trying to fucking make sure they're living.
One of their own medical advisors admitted, she said, I didn't know what trigeminal neuralgia was, so I Googled it.
Google's that.
She in writing admitted, because another doctor went after her, like in writing, said, like, did you just say what you said? She said, and it was, she admitted to Googling the diagnosis, not knowing what it was, but because it was so rare, she didn't think I had it, so she denied it anyway.
And they're not giving me any money compensation for this. Like, why aren't you?
Well, I'm getting like a pension and stuff like that, but like this new stuff should get me some.
Yeah.
Oh, like the renovations with the house. They had an OT come in, and the OT like said clearly, she does have PTSD and all this, and they disagreed with him. They were not going to do anything, and then they said, we'll put in a movable island. And I'm like, who's gonna move said movable island? Like, I'm 100 pounds, right? Like, and then it was just one thing after the other, and we'll approve this, and well, if you don't let us go ahead and start the renovations now, we're just gonna cancel them. And I'm like, well, that's not all the OT recommended. And yeah, and in the end, because some of the renovations were part of the tribunal I just had, and I won all of them except my bedroom in the basement. And I mean, for that matter, I'll put that there myself. I don't care. But I won all of them, and I got a message from my case manager on something like October, I don't know, 25th, saying if I didn't hear from her by October, sometime in October, saying if I didn't hear from her by October 25th, that she was going to cancel the renovations. And I said, you can't cancel the renovations because that's part of my upcoming tribunal. And I haven't heard a word from her since. So.
Wow. Well, we're going to have to take another quick break, honey, because we're at the top of the hour of the 90 minutes. And we'll come back and we'll talk more about what's going on with, the renovations and what exactly we're going to end up, at the end of the day. Hopefully you have some good luck and some good things happen. We'll be right back. Thank our sponsors again.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBGTV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and in the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
All right, we're back. See, that was a commercial that should have ran last time. Oh, what the hell goes on? Sometimes it's better that Al does this.
Yeah.
You guys sit back on the other side and just look, nod my head.
Sharing blueberries with the dog.
Yeah. I know these guys are now all laying down, sleeping, after being running around barking for the last, hour. So that's good that, the tribunal's over, though. That was a lot of stress, I imagine.
Yeah, November. The month of November was kind of felt like a year, really.
Now, do you have to go through that again? Where's this at?
I don't know. He kind of left some things open that maybe because with comp, you have to be direct, like a 5-year-old child, and tell them exactly what to do. And if you don't, then they kind of take what they want from it. So
Right.
we'll see, but the renovations were go ahead. Your group massage therapy too, as long as it was a physiotherapist, which is good because it was denied up until now, all along. Meal replacements, that was another one. I had them covered. Then there was a snafu because the pharmacy where I was getting them closed, the physical location, like nothing else happened, but that's all it takes is just a little bump in the road and then they're gone and then you're like, hey. So yeah, I was on Boost and onshore for a long time and my GI system just couldn't tolerate it anymore. So I was looking at alternate methods of trying to put weight on and maintain my jaw muscles, like because some days I couldn't chew, so I would kind of have to puree stuff, and on days I could chew, I wanted to chew because I didn't want to lose what I had, right?
Yeah.
But they don't understand that, and then I think there was dietitian letters sent in, and in 2019 I was diagnosed with failure to thrive, so technically I shouldn't even be alive right now.
Right.
Like that's 4 years failure to thrive, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you're living in, wonder, that's for sure. And keep
And
fighting as hard as you have been. There's a
but it's
lot.
not just me, right? Because I know it's not just me because I hear from so many other people in the same position.
That's the saddest part of it.
And that I think that's what I got a call from a single mother one time, and I just thought I can't imagine doing this with 2 small kids. I can't. And from then on, I was just like, no. Like I always had a strong moral compass, but if it's wrong, it's wrong. And if it says it in black and white that they're going to do this, and you say you're going to do it, then do it. And maybe I'm on a spectrum, and maybe I stick to things like that. Like maybe like I'm ADHD too. I was ADHD before I was PTSD, so
Yeah, feel you on that one too, right? And again, that's the thing. Like, do as you say and say as you do. It's not hard. It's not hard. Like, they wonder why there are so many of us that are black and white. But there's gray in between, but not when it's a tendent lie, and then when it's just continual lie to make it so you're being gaslit so that you can't get what you need, and that's bullshit,
yeah.
straight up. And that's what they do. They gaslight it, right? They'll totally turn things around, gaslight you, make you think you're fucking crazy. And they're like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, they call me verbally abusive and all kinds of stuff.
Well, when you're on the end of your rope, what do? You get a little defensive. Like maybe you were somebody that, in pain to begin with, living with chronic pain makes you a bit cranky.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I'm a bit cranky most days too, because I'm living with chronic pain. Because I don't sit and take up the hydromorphine. I'm living with diversion and I'm living with cannabis. And that cannabis doesn't mask the pain. So I'm still living with that dull roar every day.
Yeah.
You
We're
know,
never pain free, and we never will be pain free.
right?
And that's
Oh,
not.
I can be pain free if I pop a bunch of fucking opioids.
We're just looking for quality of life. That's all. Just
Right?
looking
I don't
for
want to put a bunch of opioids. Probably no more than you or half the world does.
no.
Let us live with a little bit of achy that we got. Like, give us a little bit.
I miss having a decent poop. I do. I do. I miss having a decent poop. It's just no, and I had no choice. And people say, "Oh, you did have it." Well, no, I didn't.
What choice did you have?
When you're in that type of pain and see people that don't have pain like that, don't get it. So
They don't. And that's the thing. Like, and nobody else can understand everybody else. Like, we all say we understand, but in reality, we don't because we're not you, and
no,
we don't have the same exact makeup. Like, I think that's one thing that we are looking for all individuals. And say, yeah, we understand, but unless you live on that person's shoes, you really don't. Right?
yeah.
Even with same illness, like that's the thing. What are you doing? Sorry, we have dog scratching my mattress. Get out from underneath there. Get out from underneath there. Go. You little creep. Jesus. Goddamn animals. I tell ya. It's a zoo around here. These are they're scratching my mattress. Like, get out from underneath there, you bugger. Underneath my mattress cover, scratching my mattress. What the hell? But again, like I said, we can all have, even like Al and I, like, he's got Crohn's and I've got colitis, but it's not the same. And even two people with Crohn's aren't the same, right? Even like with arthritis. Well, that's the same with anybody with arthritis. I love how people say, "I have arthritis too." Well, I imagine you probably live with severe pain too. I understand that, but we can't compare each other because we're not comparable. Even difference with cancer. I mean, these support groups and stuff are great where people can get together and talk about their afflictions and how they do have similar things that do go on, but I just find that unhelpful.
We're all different. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So you ingest by making butter and candy, and what do you do with how do you ingest your cannabis?
I find there's a couple of strains that work for me. Like I'll get those, and I'll make them, and I'll make like a standalone oil, just like out of MCT oil, rice bran oil, whatever. And I'll just kind of have it in a little pump bottle, and I'll make another one. So I'll have 3 or 4 different strains. So it's kind of, I have this little kind of like pharmacy thing. So then if I get up that day, I know how I feel. So I might need a couple of pumps of this or a couple of pumps of that. I might need more CBD, more THC. I might need more THCA and no THC. Like, total depends on what I need. And then I was making topicals, like using, especially with the trigeminal occipital and then the shoulder injury and stuff and the ankle. The topicals were working, so I was making topicals, and then I was making bath bombs, and then I said, well, because then I started thinking, okay, if I can do this with it, then can I do this with it? Because anything that, once I caught on to anything, then anything I can put oil into, I was like, oh, hang on a second. And then I found, because the best thing for me is heat. Moist heat, I find, treats my heat the best. And if I can incorporate that into something, then by all means, yes, I do it.
So like you in a bath is good to like a bath with the THC bomb and stuff helps. It's helpful then. Yeah. Yeah.
I know I'm going to be on the run that day. Like some of the creams are, they tend to be, unless you use a lot of beeswax, like they tend to get runny when they get warm. So if I know if I'm going to be on the road a lot that day, I might take put some rice bran oil in a spray bottle, take that with me and just spray it and rub it in.
Yeah.
Like it's just so versatile.
Right. And that's the thing with cannabis. And there's so many things you can do with it. That is versatile. I know I've got friends that do. I just don't have the time. Like, to be honest, I've got too much going on here. I make my candies and stuff, but it's been pretty slow. People, like I said, people are using legal. Like, they're not even getting a hold of the old compassion clubs because that's what I was, pretty much doing. And my compassion club is pretty much gone now because I don't have the variety. I don't have the strains. I don't have what the stores have. Like, it's just not. It's impossible to try and compete with, like, a small club. Like, it's just impossible. You can't get the access to the strains, and so I work in the store. I try and talk to people at the store.
For you, like you can kind of, because it is a lot of work, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Like I said, I did it for years, especially when we lived out on the farm where I had my 200 plants and I had lots of excess materials to work with. So I did a lot of baking and a lot of giving, and now that's kind of stopped too. Where it was given away. Like, I didn't even charge for it. It'd just be, here, you need some peanut butter, mail it off. Like, it can't. What do you need, kind of thing, right? It's a lot of that. But when we moved to 10 years ago, we moved here and I lost my license, my big license. It's not that I lost it. It's just that we had to grow it. We don't have power. We have 60 amp power in this house. So I don't have power to run the lights. And this isn't an old house. Like I said, this background is not my house. I live in an old house. It's my grandparents' house, right? My grandpa bought it in 1951. It's got like an old dirt basement. Like, it's partially cement, but it's not like it hasn't been dug. It was dug out after the fact that it was built. Like, dug out and around it. And then it's got like 60 amp power still. Like, not the old knob and tube, one upgrade from that, but that's where I'm sitting. So I run a couple of LED lights. I can go 4 plants, but I can't go because Alvin's 20 and mine's 20. That's 98 plants each. So, right. And we could get those scripts still. Like from my doctor actually, when we went to get my renewal, because my doctor saw my paperwork the first year I moved with my daughter for both me and Ellen. So we had our 15 and 20 gram scripts. And then when I went back the year later to renew it, this was the year after legalization, she goes, "Why would I prescribe you 15 when you can go to a store and get 30 with no relief?" And refused to sign my renewal. So I haven't had a license since then. I did. I got one from 420 for an LP, whatever. I think the year after, just to have paperwork because I had to install in elementary school and didn't want to bullshit. Just to say, here's the license. You know, we got something. Here it is.
Yeah.
20, whatever. And I had to buy from Broken Coast because that was my provider. When the first MPR bullshit, ACMPR was still, you know. And then I had an ACMPR. We had a production site, a guy that was DGing for us, and he ripped us off. We ended up with 1 pound of the fucking 500 pounds he owed us of crappy weed. He just sold it all and gave us a pound of crappy fucking weed. So that's why I never did that again.
No.
So that was my experience with a designated grower.
It's my medicine, right? Like I don't. It's hard to trust people because like if people want to make a buck, they'll do anything. They don't care. Like,
like I got him a whole scale of Remos nutrients and everything, and he refused to use them. And then he brought us just one. I think he brought us 2 pounds. One was full of seeds. And one was just like loose light buds that weren't nothing. They were probably 9% THC.
you could have sold the cop.
Maybe the government would want his crop, right? Like if you go the lowest crappiest plot, this guy, you know, he'd be in the market, right? So yeah, like so I had a few, and then I had another one on the island too that just ripped me off. She ripped me off too, like. So and she's in Nova Scotia now, actually, but yeah, she ripped me hard too. Got my licenses and grew plants, and I think that one sold all my meds to Mark Emery. And capsules, yeah. You betcha. So yeah, I've had a few runarounds. Why I do my show. My own business.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm not scared of the muck anymore because it's just there's so much muck still. Like I mean, if you want to, you know, get into it, there's still lots of muck going on. But.
Yeah. No, I'm on the same mind. I just kind of do my thing and keep my head.
Helping patients when I can, but they're far and few between now. Like I said, everybody just uses the stores.
I get a lot of questions. Like I have a small private group. Like it started when it helped my trigeminal neuralgia because I was in a couple of trigeminal neuralgia groups and I'm like, holy shit, man, I think this is working. And they were like, really? And so we started talking and I said, okay, I'm going to start a group. And because I was starting to look for research on CBD repairing the myelin sheath and, you know, all that inflammation and all that stuff. So it grew from like that to where it is now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's the thing, like education is the key because people still look for that, right? They don't know. And a lot of people don't like the people that come into the store with like, just gonna get some blue eggs, they just smell like, you know, that they're smoking it, right? And just kind of snicker. Yeah, those are my favorite too. And I hand them off and look at me like, you smoke what? Yeah, man, like I'm a patient. And I was like a patient. And a lot of people don't get that. They don't get the medicinal end of things, right? It's like, okay, whatever, see you later. And the other ones, the senior citizens.
Yeah. Yeah, I love working with seniors because to them it's even if it's arthritis or whatever they're dealing with, to have that little bit of mobility back or whatever it is, it's like you've given them the key, the fountain of youth, and they go with it, man. Like they do. Like they're like, yeah, you go. They roll with it. Yes.
Yeah, and because they were told for so long too that it was
Yep. It's
right?
Like, what was that movie?
They were lied to. Like now they're finally realizing they were lied to, right? You were lied to. Like even my mom, she's 77. She's like, "You see any sin of that icy pot?" I'm like, okay, Mom. Right? And she'll go pick up weed from with my son because he had cancer and he's got a card and whatever from like before. And he still smoke. My mom lets him smoke in the house. My mother would have killed me if she would have caught me smoking weed in the house. Here's my kid living in the basement smoking weed.
I would have been carrying my head under my arm.
Me too. My mom worked for the RCMP. Jesus Christ, I would have lost my job. So I heard my whole life, you can't do anything wrong. I'll lose my job. So, my whole life, my brother and I didn't do anything. My brother's a corrections officer now. So, what he went into, he wanted to be an EMT and then ended up being working at casual at A&D and Lethbridge Correctional Institute. And he's been there ever since.
That's what happened with me. I was working in psychiatry. I was working in forensics. Then I was working at the Burnside Jail as a nurse. So the next step was just like, and that's how.
Well, it was kind of like it was a temporary job that turned into a 30-year later kind of thing, right? And yeah, mom worked for the RCMP in like as a public servant. She was a secretary, but she still worked at the RCMP station and still had to have security clearances and all this other stupid shit because of the department she worked in. So I was always like threatened my whole life, like, oh, yeah. And then as soon as she retired from the RCMP, I started Southern Alberta Cannabis Club like the day after. It's like, fuck you.
Oh, God.
She was president of Crime Stoppers. I was growing weed. I was living in Colhurst, going to university. I had 10 plants in my basement. She grew up with the Crime Stoppers PT Cruiser. Here I am growing weed in my basement. And they knew. And I'm like, kitty corner to the high school, right? Yeah.
I broke my parents into it gently, but at that point, it was becoming, by the time I started fighting with comp, like openly about it, it had become kind of, you see it on the news now and again, and it was becoming more mainstream and stuff, so it kind of...
Well, medical has been legal since 2000, right? So, I mean, that was the way I kind of eased my mom in. Once I got my papers, it was like, okay, well, you're now got an exemption. There's nothing I can do. Even my brother is like, and then legalization, he's like, maybe we should open a pot store. I'm like, are you fucking, what are you talking about? We got $1 million all of a sudden, dude? Like, you've been a corrections officer for how long else? And you want to open a pot store? Like I said, when you get $1 million, I'll talk to you. Because you need that money. That's minimum. Profit. Yeah.
At least.
Right? That's just for a distribution store. That's just for like to open a store. For renovations, you probably need $2 million to get it looking the way they want it to, with all their fancy little computers and then all the inventory that you got to pay for it that they don't pay the fucking growers for 90 days after. And oh yeah, but they expect the stores to pay up front, but they don't pay the growers and the fucking anybody else for 90 days. Yeah. And the province of Ontario isn't paying the municipalities their portion of the taxes either. They're keeping it all themselves. So you have to wonder what Dougie Ford's doing with that 75% of the cannabis taxes that the government does. Because they're all bitching about federal transfers.
Huge surplus this
year. There's like billions of dollars that have been made off cannabis taxes. And the federal government only keeps 25%. They then filter back 75% to the provinces. And the provinces are supposed to filter that back down to the municipalities, right? And the provinces are doing that. And where's the money? So when the feds keep saying they're spending money, they got the money to spend, but they're not talking about where it's coming from because it's coming from taxation of cannabis. And they won't say that because they don't want anybody to know where the money's coming from. And I keep saying, like, just say it. Served was, represent, come to you by a pothead. Like, thank a pothead. You got served. You got all these increases in your GST and your child tax. Thank a pothead. But they don't want
all that extra money came from. All of a sudden, after legalization.
Yeah. Billions of dollars, 1.3 billion a year, if not more, depending on the consumption, right? Because and now in BC here, we're paying 20% vape tax on top, like if you buy a vape pen. So, depending on the level, we're still paying like 14%, 20% taxes on our cannabis, right? Alcohol, tobacco, like, where's all that fucking money? Never mind the income tax that we all pay, right? So you have to, but that's exactly like I say, all this extra money the feds have got to spend. But then again, the province, where's the province doing with the 75% they're getting? Because they're taking, the provinces are getting more, and then you got Quebec and Alberta screaming they need more money. Why aren't you getting in? Like, where's the money that you're getting?
Yeah.
I don't see any more healthcare workers. I don't see any schools being built. I don't see any big road projects, which is where the money was supposed to be going to. I think Alberta's using it for the new Alberta police force. She's a fucking nutbag. Right? Let's get rid of the RCMP and we're gonna, Alberta police.
Yep.
That's not fascist.
Ride on horseback yourself.
fucking, she can go right out of the fucking horse. And she can get riding off the horse she came riding in on. Fucking stupid thing. I can't. I can't. Just not a fan. Just not a fan.
Oh, me either.
Her and old pee arming on all apple eating fucking. She's riding a horse and he's chewing an apple. That's quite the pair. Fucking snake oil, is it? She's got the snake oil. That's right. She's the snake oil and he's got the apple.
Yeah. Ooh.
Jesus Christ. I don't know what's gonna happen if he actually wins, because they're predicting that he will.
I can't see it, but
I can't see it either, but there's a lot of disgruntled Canadians. If they're that stupid to fucking
that's disgruntled.
Mealy mouth fucking apple chewing fucking loser's gonna help us.
Nobody hates themselves that much, man.
Oh my Christ.
Well, like in Nova Scotia now, like we've been like either Tory or Liberal for like a long time. And what happens is the PCs will come in, fuck us, and then we get mad and then we go back to Liberal. That's what happens. And that's what's going to happen the next election too, because that's what's going on now.
That's what happened last time. They were all pissed off at Paul Martin because he fucking took away some services and balanced the budget. They didn't like that. These Canadians, right? And then all of a sudden they rolled in Harper, and they're all fucking, Harper was the best. Harper, it was fake lakes and his fucking pandas and his cores and your China, and you want that fucker back? And if you want to fucking talk about being a bigot, and here you got his little minion fucking right beside him, but you haven't heard much about Jason Kenney lately, have you? That fucking squirrel just kind of fucked right off, and nobody's heard from him since. Moved back to his mama's basement, we think. Old premier of Alberta that totally destroyed it, and then let that fucking nutbag that's got it now. But he was Harper's fucking minion too, and they all figured he was, because he was a MP in Ontario out there. And yeah, here we are, fucking with another bunch of fucking Harper minions, fucking biting at the hook. And the Liberals better do something quick, because they're losing quick, and I don't know why. It just seems to be one hiccup after another.
I'm trying to get a meeting with my MP, Mike Kellaway. He's Liberal. He's federal.
Yep.
So I'm going to try to get a meeting with him. Actually, I filled out the paperwork tonight, just the consent form. Consent to release information. So yeah. Hoping I can get him involved to do something.
Well, that would be something too, because let's face it, the medical marijuana program is a program, right? Mm-hmm. So at the baseline of it, like if it had to go to constitutional challenge, which it could definitely do, if you have the ability to show where your rights, Charter 7, have been violated, right? Which they have, because they're not giving you the ability to atone for your own health, and you know what I mean, right?
Like seriously.
Yeah,
worse than that.
But they're fucking with they're violating your rights to be able to have autonomy to your own body. 9%, like you got to be fucking kidding me.
And intentionally denying the things that I need.
Yeah.
Knowing what's going to happen if I don't get them.
Right. Let's not hope that I hate to see that happen, but then that would be your choice.
Right? I'll fight. I'll fight to the end.
No, it's good. I figured you were a little bit too stubborn to fucking look at me.
Okay.
That'd be like me saying, okay, I've had enough, I'm gonna go look at Maid, and they'd be going, yeah, all right, you're fucking, there's no way, you got too much fighting, you're too feisty, you're too Scott.
I've applied, and I have no doubt it'll be accepted, but for me, it's more, because I could fight, like, I could have won this tribunal. It might take them 2 years to decide to follow the rules. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they could pull the rug out from me anytime. So I needed some safeguard in place in case they did, because I was not going through that again.
I understand.
Definitely not going through that again, so.
I understand. Because on your own terms, right? There were things on your own terms. And it should be.
Well, and that's how I looked at it, kind of like giving up too at first, and I thought, no. This is how I felt. Making this decision is how I felt when I learned about cannabis and that empowerment feeling I felt like in a weird way, I felt like I had my power back.
Well, we've come to the end of our show, honey, so we're going to have to sign off because there's another one coming right about. But you stay on. Yeah, we did. We got a whole 90 minutes right through. So I want to thank you again for coming on, but stay, like, don't go away. Just like I'll pop you off and we'll say it. I'll just end things and then we'll chat after. So thanks for coming on, and thanks. I want to thank our sponsors, and we'll see you again next week. I'll be back. Y'all take care. Night.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.